Hey guys, it's Ryan from the Cooler server, and today we're going to be talking about how to use the Eden editor. That's right, Arma has finally had the Eden editor released. It's the first Bohemia-sponsored official 3D editor for the Arma series. It's been a thing that has been long requested by many people of the community, myself included, for a very long time. And it is a godsend for anyone out there trying to make missions. There are a few issues and there's a few UI changes that I'm not a humongous fan of, but overall it really makes life a lot easier. But if you are used to editing in the 2D editor, or you're new to editing in general, it can be a little bit to look at first. So today in this video, we're going to cover some very basic stuff, and basically we're going to do that by just going over the process that I use to make a base for the missions that we run on the Cooler server. So the reason I'm in the audio options screen is because with the Eden update, they have a very boisterous background thing going on in the main menu, and as soon as I hit cancel, it's going to be, yeah, very loud. So what you're going to do is go to Editor and click whatever map you want. We're going to go with Chernoris, which is a Arma 2 map added by the Cup Terrains pack, and we're going to go click the new 3D editor button down here. If you want to use the old editor, you still can. You just have to click the 2D editor button, but we don't care about that. Wave of the future, we're going in 3D. Um, so today, basically, what we're going to go over is how to create a base. And let me just load up a thing really fast so you can see what a finished base looks like. This is an op that we ran a couple weeks ago. This was Operation Gray Helicopter Has Crashed, which is a completely unique idea. And this is what the base looks like in the editor. You can see we've got all our modules down here. We've got all our vehicles, some HESCOs, and if you hit M, you can see we've got a trigger for the actual mission, which happened over here. And then we've got our base down here. But we're going to start from scratch. So what you want to do first, before anything else when making a base, is find a good location for a base. Anywhere that is a good location for a base would generally be, I like open terrain just because I can kind of build my own base, but you could do anything. You could build it in a town if you wanted. You could build it, uh, yeah, you know what, this looks alright. Let's build it up here. Yeah, it's a little tilted, but you know what, that'll be fine. What the fuck? That's bizarre. This will be fine. So the first thing you want to do when building a base, is, at least the first thing that I do, is I place down units. These are all of the units that players in the game will be able to occupy and run around with. So um, I have a complete list for any Cooler server prospective mission makers of what units we're going to be putting down. But just for simplicity's sake, in this video, we're just gonna drop groups. I guess I should show you though, first of all, the way you do placing units now is much easier than before, much more self-explanatory. Over on the right here with F1 and F2, you've got units and groups. If you've seen my previous video, you know the general idea how this works. If you haven't, then I'll go through it briefly. Basically, under units, you've got blue 4, which is good guys, op 4, which is bad guys, independent, which is independent guys, civilians, which are innocent, poor people, and props, which are things like, I don't know, like this, just little fence pieces, scenery, basically. Um, what you want to do first is you're going to be going through placing all your guys. So, for example, we have squad leader. Um, this new Eden update, one of the best features about it is there's now a search functionality. So whereas before I would have to go find like NATO men and squad leader, there we go. Instead of doing all that, I can literally just go up here and type squad, and there it is right there. A word of caution, don't hit enter with this search bar. It automatically pulls up the search as you're typing, and hitting enter will send you into your scenario. So don't hit enter. I've done that too many times. So by placing our first unit, you can see by the red circle around that he has automatically been set. Whoops. He's automatically been set as our player unit, which means if we go into the scenario right now, this is the unit we'll be testing the scenario with. If you don't want that, you can double click on it and untick player, and he is no longer set to player, but we do need him to be set as playable. so that people can select him in multiplayer. So again, just by double clicking on him, I pull up this menu and click playable, and we got that set. Another feature of the new Eden editor is, well, quite a bit. You can see there's a long list of stuff. The init field is still there if you like doing advanced scripting. Object transformation, just where they are. You got skill, which sets how skilled this unit is if it's controlled by an AI. Health and armor just sets if they've got full health at the beginning. You can also set them to like super wounded or like straight up almost dead. Ammunition, how much ammo they've got. You can see we've got all sorts of fun stuff. If you are making a mission for TCS, please make sure you're leaving all of these ticked. Thank you. You can also set their name, although the name will be overridden if a player takes that slot, um, and so will the face by their selected player face. Same with voice, and basically all of this is overridden by the player joining. Um, Another fun new thing you can do is if you right-click on a unit, you get this whole big-ass menu. And one of the fun things you can do is go into the arsenal. You should be familiar with the arsenal if you've ever played with the cooler server, or probably most armor groups. But if you aren't, I'll load it up for you really fast. The arsenal just allows you to actually set the gear that this unit has, which is a really nice new feature that the Eden editor added rather. So I'm just gonna load him up with my squad leader kit that I use for our ops, and hit OK. And if I go in now, you can see he is wearing my kit. Uh, Really nice feature that they've added, and I'm really happy that's a thing. But as I said, just for simplicity's sake, we're going to go to groups, which will drop a whole group of units at once. We're going to go to NATO infantry, which is good guy infantry, and we're just going to drop a rifle squad. Boom. Um, so now we've got a full squad placed here, and I'm just going to move them a little bit closer together. Now, one thing you'll notice is the blue lines connecting them. This means that they're in a group together, and that's fine because they are a squad together. Excuse my scrolling like a madman. But one thing that I should cover now, because this has been changed with the new Eden update, is say you had bothered to just place down individual units, um, and for whatever reason they grouped in a way you didn't want them to. The way you group things now. This is one of my major complaints about the Eden editor because it's not super intuitive. Um, is like this. You right click on the unit that you want to group to another unit, say connect, group to, and then click on the unit that you want him to join the group of. So for example, if I want the marksman to be a subordinate or a follower of the repair specialist, I would start with him and then click on repair specialist. And now the repair specialist is in charge of this new unit, which you can see over here on the right. It's been named Alpha 1-3. I'm just going to get rid of those. So we've got our ground team. Generally speaking, we want 2 ground teams, but before we do that, we're going to go in here and set these guys to playable, just to make sure that players can actually go in and choose these people. Another huge change with the Eden editor that, oh my god, it's just so nice, is that when you copy and paste units, it saves the status of being playable. Oh, here's a fun thing. When you copy and paste things, it tries to paste them at the same altitude as the copy was from. So as you'll see, these guys are floating. The way you change altitude of units is by highlighting as many as you need, hovering over one, holding the Alt key, clicking, and pulling up and down. With the Alt key held, this is the elevation modifier. And if you just pull it all the way to the ground, it'll automatically set all the guys onto the ground, or at least it should. As you can see, a couple of them are a little still above, so I'm just gonna manually pull all them down, um, and that's fine. Oh, and because this was set to player when it was copied, that playable status did not save, so I'll just do that. Next, we want air team, so we're going to get a couple pilots, nothing too fancy, set them to playable, copy them, paste a couple times, there you go, got your air team. Generally, you would also want your armor team and force recon teams if you're playing with a cooler server, but you get the idea, so we're just going to stop there for now. Moving on, the vehicles that you want at the base. This is another change that they've made with the Eden editor. Previously, to place empty vehicles, you would have gone to objects and then props, or rather, as it was called at the time, empty, and there was a section for vehicles. That's not the case anymore. Now to place vehicles empty, what you want to do is find a vehicle that you want to place. We're going to go with, sure, why not? We'll place a tank. You hold the Alt key, and you'll see that that's changed the icon to a yellow. I don't know if you can see that very well. A yellow instead of a blue. Holding the Alt key and then placing will set the vehicle as an empty vehicle. You can see if I did the same thing without holding the Alt key, it's blue. Alternatively, by placing a full vehicle, another change with the Eden editor, which I'm a huge fan of, is if the vehicle is full and you hover over the little vehicle icon, you can see here there's a crewman driver, a crewman gunner, and a crewman commander. That's all the people who are in the vehicle right now. Let's say I didn't want this vehicle to have a gun or commander. Why not? We only wanted the gunner and the driver, so no one would be using the 50 cal up top. We can just click on the commander and drag him right out, and then I can just delete him, and now the vehicle's only got two people inside, and I can drag them out as well and just have an empty vehicle if I want. Perfect. So generally speaking, when I make a base, what I like to have is, starting off, the HEMETs, which are utility vehicles. If I know how to spell that, there it is. Yeah, it was AGM. Oh, it's HEMTT, excuse me. The HEMTs, I usually grab an ammo, a fuel, a medical, and a repair. Now let me show you another great new feature with, let's get these guys off the hill. Another great new feature with the Eden editor is that you can actually select the contents of vehicles rather. This is really nice. You can always still do it the same way you used to do it with the init field, but if you don't care to do that and you've only maybe got a few things you want to add, you can also go into the individual gear list down here in equipment storage and select what you want in there. So we're gonna just grab a shitload of mags. Sorry, we got a lot of weapon mods, so I've got to scroll for a minute. We're just gonna grab some mags. 5.56 Stanag is fine, and you can just hit the plus key here, grab as many as you want. It's really nice. We're just gonna drop in like, I guess 50 mags. So in the ammo truck, I usually put in a ton of mags. We're just gonna put in some Stanag for now, just for simplicity's sake. The medical truck, I'll generally add a bunch of medical supplies. Got to have your bananas just to be safe. Get that potassium, blood, the whole 9 yards. You can add whatever you want to any vehicle. Like I could also add it to this tank if I wanted to, but we're not going to because tanks aren't good storage vehicles. Um, After the HEMETs, when making a base, generally what I'll go for is Humvees. Uh, 2 ambulance Humvees are always. These are desert ambulances, and I don't want that, so I'm going to grab. Nope, still desert. It's the marine ones that are the camouflage. Yeah. 2 medical Humvees, and then we can just throw in some. Whoop, not Avengers. We'll do some M2s, and that's fine. Making sure to get enough Humvees to hold all the guys that might need to use them in the mission. In this instance, probably 6 is plenty. Um, Again, I'm not really taking care to like place these carefully. You can see these are all kinds of on uneven ground, but again, this is just an example. Um, Next up, I think we'd probably go with air. For air assets, I like to make sure air has enough vehicles to be useful and continue to be useful, but not so many that they don't have to be careful. So you can see I was clicking on empty because I'm still used to the 2D editor a little bit. Um, Basically, when I do air, I start out with one dedicated attack chopper, so something like the I don't know, AH-1Z, and we're just gonna go Mark 19, or we'll just do no sign riders, and place that down somewhere. There you go. Then we go with 4 light attack choppers, so like the AH-6s, which are the, whoop, not AHG, these are the uh, just little birds. If you're using the mod version, I believe they're called the Pawnee in vanilla Arma, but we're using mods because we aren't plebs. Um, then we go for 4 light transports. An example of light transports would be the MH6 little birds, which are just these little skid birds. Whoops. Little skid little birds. Got the skids on the side instead of guns. Then we go for 1 to 2 heavy dedicated transport choppers. An example of a heavy designated, a heavy dedicated transport chopper would be like a UH-60M, uh, which is the Blackhawk. If you don't know, make sure you get a version with guns because there are some without. Or I don't know. Um, Recently, a popular one has been the CH-53 Super Stallion, because it's a big ass helicopter, can transport a lot of dudes, and it's cool. So we're gonna do that. You could also use, if you're using default Arma, the Ghost Hawk and the Chinook. They accomplish basically the same thing. These are just helicopters that would be mainly used for infilling large amounts of troops. For example, for the first infill, if you wanted to do air inserts, or if everyone got wiped and you were reinserting the whole team, or something like that. And finally, we've got 2 dedicated gunless medical choppers. These are shoe choppers specifically for medevac, and these choppers will have medical capabilities, so medics will be able to fix broken legs and things of that nature. Basically, they'll be able to use personal aid kits inside these choppers. So, uh, examples of these would be, say, oh, I don't know, UH-60 MEV unarmed, as an example. So you want to use 2 of these. That's a common one that I like to use is the UH-60 MEV. Another one would be the UH-1Y is what it's called. The Venom. And there it is, Venom MEV. And we'll just put it here. Obviously this is a shitty position because it's around a fence and all, but it's fine for now. Because again, this is just an example. In your mission, you can make it as pretty as you want. Next up, we're going to put down some medical buildings. To do this, you're going to go into props under units or objects rather, and you're going to look for medical buildings. So if you just type in medical here, yeah, there you go. Ooh, not medicals, medical. You'll pull up military cargo house medical, which is this little medical building. If you want to use that, you can adjust the elevation so it's not quite in the ground. Um, Probably want to find some more level terrain so it's also not hanging off to the side there. Yeah, sure, whatever. And you can also do the larger medical house. Whoops, this one. Bear in mind that you don't actually have to use these dedicated medical buildings. You can use literally any building in the game you want. I'm just doing these because they are medical facilities and I like how they look. I like their aesthetic. But yeah, you can use any building. Um, Next up, this is a really important one, is arsenals. This is a crate that gives people access to any item that they want. The way we're going to do this is we're going to type, whoops, ammo. And you'll see under supplies, ammo, you've got a shitload of weapons crates. It doesn't really matter what you use. I'm just going to grab this basic weapons crate for an example. Now, to actually make this an arsenal, what you're going to do is double click on it, and you could just go through and manually choose everything that you wanted in this crate. That'd take a long goddamn time. So what we're actually going to do is just paste in this line of code, which I will put in the video description. It's the same line of code that you would have used before in the previous 2D editor video from a while ago. You just slap this line of code in there, hit OK, and this will now work as an arsenal, which I will demo later. Um, Now, this is a really important part, and this is a part that can be easily messed up. So these are modules. This is where you're going to get everything to work the way that we like it on the Cooler server. You don't have to use modules. If you do use modules, you don't have to use the same settings as us. This is just the module layout that we use on the Cooler server. So what you're going to do is hit F5 or just click over here and bring up your systems. And then you've got logic entities and modules. You want to go to modules. So what we got is first advanced ballistics. This is a module that we use to make sure snipers aren't too OP, or at least try to make them less OP. Yeah, you can place this literally wherever you like. Double click on it, and the settings that we use are enabled, enabled, disabled, 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 enable, enable, enable. Then simulation interval, we leave it 0, and we're going to go ahead and knock down the simulation radius down to 2,000. That is, the simulation radius is the number of meters away from any unit that it will continue to simulate the ballistic trajectory. And very rarely would you ever engage something at over 2,000 meters. So we don't really see a reason to simulate it over that. And any farther, and you start getting, actual performance hits. So basically, what we've got here is we're using advanced ballistics, we're using it on snipers, we're disabling it for everyone else, basically. Um, yeah, you guys can see what it is just by looking at this. It's pretty easy. We're just going to say OK, and we've got our advanced ballistics set up. Next, we're going to go to medical settings. And you got to do regular medical settings first, which is medical settings ACE. So click that. Whoops. And the settings that we use are as follows. We use advanced, advanced, enable, 1800 is fine, enable screams absolutely, 1-1. AI unconscious, you want to set 50-50, enable, disable, 1-1, and enable. And that's our basic medical settings that we use. Then you go to advanced medical settings after the medical settings has been placed. I don't actually know if that placement order is important, but I figure it's better to not risk it. Set to players and AI, disable, enable, set to medics only, remove pack on use, no, condition of pack, stable, location, medical vehicles and facility. Allow surgery kit is medics only, though we don't actually use the surgery kit. No, don't remove. Use at vehicles and facility. And stable. Heal hit points is disabled because that's shitty. And pain suppression is disabled because it's a pain in the ass having pain just come back to you after a short amount of time. It basically means that if you get hit one time, you have to sit next to a medic for the rest of the op. It's not a good sign. Next up, we've got set medical vehicle. And you can place this wherever, but I recommend close to your vehicles that you want to set as medical vehicles. So we're going to put it right up here. And you just have to say, is medical vehicle yes? Now you say right click, connect, sync to, and click on all the medical vehicles that you want to be medical enabled, which just means that people inside of them can use personal aid kits. Rather, medics inside of them can use personal aid kits on other people. So like that. That's all our medical vehicles, and that's fine. Oh, actually, the HEMIT as well. There it is. Okay, next up, we've got set medical facility. And again, just better to place this near your medical facilities. Say enable. And once again, you're just going to say sync to. Super easy. Next up, we've got repair settings. Plop that down. For repair settings, we've got anyone, 0.6.4, no, and then we say full repair locations, repair facility or vehicle. Allow full repairs is engineer only. Add spare parts is enabled, and wheel replacement requirements none. Now you will notice that I've got repair facility here, and we didn't actually place any down. I have not ever actually used repair facilities because we have repair vehicles and they're just more useful. But if you would like to put a repair facility on your map, you do it exactly the same way as you did the medical facilities, except with the assign repair facility function instead of medical facility, and sync it to the buildings you wanted. Next up, we've got uh, assign repair vehicle, and we're just going to set this to, whoops, there we go. Set that to yes, and there's my repair helmet right there. Sync that to my repair helmet. You could also sync this to any other vehicle you wanted to be repair. You could make a repair Humvee, for example, or repair Bradley if you had one. Whatever you want, doesn't actually matter. You could make a repair Little Bird if you really wanted to. It'd just be a little silly. And last but not least, we've got assign engineer. So that one right there. And just like medic, um, or just like medical vehicles, you're going to say is engineer, engineer, okay, and connect sync to anyone that you want an engineer, anyone that you want to be an engineer, uh, as considered by ACE. So where is my engineer? I don't actually have an engineer here. Well, that's fine. This guy is going to be my engineer. Because again, it doesn't actually matter what kind of unit they are, so long as you sync them to this module. Okay, so now this is the last part of the base. Base is basically done. All we need now is a place for units to respawn at. This works more or less the same as it used to. It's just a little weird. So what you're going to do is hit M to pull up the map key, and this puts you in kind of like a faux 2D editor view. It's basically the same as the 2D editor used to be, except it's now in conjunction with the 3D editor. And what you're going to do is find wherever you want your respawn point to be. I like to put it near one of my medical facilities. And you're going to hit F6 or just click up here for markers. You're going to go to System, Empty, place it on the map, double click on it to open its settings, and you're going to name it respawn underscore west. No capitals, that's important, and hit OK. Oh, it's also important to note that if you're playing as OP4, the OP4 respawn is respawn underscore east. So there you go. Excuse me. Yeah, no, west is right. Next, to actually set this as a respawn and not just a marker, you're going to go to Attributes, Multiplayer. Attributes is up here in the top. Multiplayer. We're going to set our game type to Cooperative Mission. You don't actually have to do this, by the way, for setting up the respawn. I'm just doing this for my own sake. Minimum players and maximum players, just leave it 0. That means there's no limit. If you want to set a limit, you can. I could say like 10 people is the most they can play on this mission or something, but I won't. Summary, you can write your summary. I would recommend leaving enable AI ticked to avoid problems, and then you can just manually disable them once you get in lobby. Don't tick auto assign slots, it's annoying. Set respawn, this is where you do it right here, to respawn on custom point. Oh, and here you go. Respawn gorilla is the independent respawn name, and respawn civilian is the civilian respawn name. So you're going to say respawn on custom point, whoops, respawn on custom position, there we go. And I'm going to untick respawn, show respawn counter, because we don't care about that. I'm going to leave our respawn delay to 0, because on Cooler server we like just 1 second you're in combat and the next second you're just at base. It's very jarring and it's a fun time. Respawn vehicle delay, we're going to leave it 0. That's fine. We're not using vehicle respawns anyway. Show scoreboard, I'm going to untick. Allow manual respawn, I'm going to leave ticked, because there's, Arma has some weird situations that sometimes call for it. You'll notice this is grayed out. That's because there's no slots on an enemy team, so that's fine there. And allow AI score, no. And then I'm going to click OK. And now you have a fully functional base right here. Really quickly, I'm just going to go play scenario. And I'm going to demo this weapon box, which is right here. Couldn't find it for a second because it's small. And this should, in theory, work, yeah. So as you saw there, I don't know if you noticed, but I scrolled down and I now have an option here that says Enter Arsenal. And upon selecting that, I'm now in the Bohemia Arsenal and can choose whatever weapon I like. Alright, so that's pretty much everything. You've now got a fully set up base, albeit this one is very ugly. I'm sure you can take the time to go through empty and set up some nice, things, maybe a bungalow, who knows, whatever you want. I'm sure you can make a really nice base. This is just the basics. One last thing to note is the respawn point that we placed here will not work in the editor. If you go play scenario and you kill someone or test something like that, the respawn won't work in editor or even single player for that matter. I don't think it will only work in multiplayer. Um, just for the sake, I'll cover this again in the second half of this tutorial video when we're going over making an enemy force and finishing a mission. But just so you know, the way that you're going to want to actually get this to multiplayer is first you're going to save your mission, and I'm going to save this as Dick Butt Swag YOLO. It's fine. And then once you've saved it, what you do next is say scenario export to multiplayer. And then that will be put in your MP missions file in your Steam Arma directory as a PBO file that's ready to upload to servers. That's important because before doing that, it'll just be saved in your document file as I think an INI file or something like that. It won't be a PBO or whatever the file extension. It won't be what you need. So say export to multiplayer, and then what you need can be found in your MP missions in Arma directory. Anyway, guys, this has been how to set up a base in the new Eden 3D editor. I hope you guys enjoyed. I have been Ryan from the Cooler server, and will continue to be that. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below and hang around. Should be in the next couple days. I should be getting out the how to make an op4 area for your mission tutorial out. Until then, guys, have a good one.